Welcome to Allergy Dragon's Lair. My name is Martha Morgan. I'm a specialty diet and allergy chef. I happen to have celiac disease and multiple food allergies, and I have a child with over 30 food allergies. I'm super excited about today's episode, but before I introduce our guest, let me read my disclaimer. The views expressed here on our show are the personal opinions and life experiences of ours and our guests. We are not healthcare providers or doctors, however, some of my guests are. Please seek advice from your healthcare professional for any diagnosis or changes to your healthcare plan. Okay, so we're back with Amy Wilson, the Nutrition Coach Pharmacist, because for some reason I can't say their complete name right now. I don't know why. We are doing episode 2, so quick, make sure you check out episode 1, then come back and check us out here. And we're going to jump in. Amy, we wanted to kind of broach into the subject. I asked a really huge question at the end of the other episode, so please go check out that question. And we were talking about cortisol and all kinds of fun stuff with being menopausal, and we were talking about a lot of people don't really know that it takes some time. So how can you help somebody with all that and kind of answer my question a little bit more?
With the time part, Amazon Prime in 2 days for our bodies?
That's right.
So what you have to think about is what has worked in the past no longer works. So how many, honestly, I can tell you, I started my first diet in 6th grade. Remember it. Martha, do you remember your first diet and when it was?
Yeah, I was 7th grade.
Yeah. So think about how many times that we dieted. And I will tell you, I remember not eating and binging on Oreos. I totally remember that. Cabbage soup diet, whatever diet was in Self Magazine Glamour. In college, I ate nothing but carrots and I turned orange. True story. Did South Beach, all that kind of stuff. And everything was, hey, how much weight can you lose in 10 to 12 days, right? And then you lose it and then it comes back and it brings on friends. So it's like you lose and then you gain plus more. And the problem is that we've been so conditioned that we forget about the gaining it back plus more. We remember the feeling of losing those quick 10 pounds or 15 pounds. And then we expect that for everything. But we always forget that that doesn't last because whatever you did, you were probably hangry. You weren't eating enough. You were actually using muscle for fuel. You weren't using body fat. So everybody who says, oh, well, I'm not eating and I'm using body fat for fuel. That's not how it works. So when your body is it's a smart cookie. It really is. So it will use muscle for fuel first because that's the quickest form of energy. It uses fat last. And that's hard to concept. If you're not feeding your body properly, it will never, ever use your fat stores. So you can become what's called a sugar burner using your muscle all the time instead of a fat burner because you are not fueling your body. So the problem is that we do these quick fixes. We do lose weight according to the scale, but we lost muscle mass. So now you slowed your metabolism down and then you gain the weight back and you try it again and it doesn't work anymore. And you're frustrated. So you have to flip the script and understand that what we did doesn't work. What we did actually kind of hurt our thyroid. It slowed our metabolism down, and giving that scale so much power has really kind of almost hurt our psyche. So it's understanding that, hey, maybe this time I do it for health. This time I do it to increase my muscle. This time I do it so that I feel amazing and I'm not hangry or mean or, it's like, people's like, oh, you're on a diet, aren't you? It's like, how can you tell? Because you are just mean. It's that kind of thing. So this time you change it, it's going to be slow because building muscle and burning fat is not a fast process. It is a slow process, but it's a permanent process. And it's not something that you do for 6 weeks. That's the other thing. You can't do this thing for 10 days or 6 weeks. This is now a lifelong journey. This is now learning how to flip the switch in your body and understanding that I can still eat good food. I can build muscle. I'm not having to work out for hours and I'm not having to starve myself with the, hey, let's eat less than 1,200 calories, which is BS. I'm actually fueling my body and I'm lifting or working out a little bit every day, not for hours. And it's hard to get inside the brain. It really is hard to get inside the brain that that's what works. but it does work. And I always tell people is like, if what you were doing worked, you wouldn't be here. And that was my motto for me, because when I changed and flipped, I kept having to say, if what I was doing worked, I wouldn't be here. And I was teaching classes. I was teaching up to 15 classes a week, plus my pharmacy job, plus doing extra working out and not eating. And believe me, I tried keto, I tried it all. And even though I was a nutrition coach for other things, I was like, oh, well, I'm going to try something else because obviously nothing's working. And it wasn't until I flipped it and said, okay, I'm going to start fueling my body. I'm going to start looking at the food that I'm actually eating, and picking up weights was a dramatic change. Did I get a lot of change in 6 weeks? No, I felt amazing. My headaches were gone. Joint pain was gone. It was crazy of how I felt, which gave me momentum to keep going, because we all know that motivation does not last. It's consistency that you have to, and I don't like the word discipline, because like, I'm just not disciplined. No, it's consistency. You just show up when you show up every day for yourself, and you do 1% better every day. But when you try to do for motivation, it just doesn't work. But what I saw after 6 weeks was like, okay, let me keep going. I honestly didn't start seeing results for me personally until 6 months. And that's a lot of my clients too, because you think about it. I love James Clear and Atomic Habits. I don't know if you ever read that book, but it's really good. And it's all about doing 1% better every day. And he talks about the ice cube effect. And you look at an ice cube and it doesn't melt until after 32 degrees. But just because you don't see it melting, things are happening at 26, 27, 28, 29. So for all my chemistry people, you know that the molecular stuff inside is changing. You know, you got the atoms moving, everything's going on, and it goes from a solid state to a liquid state. But it wasn't just at boom, it happened. It was the energy and everything that happened up to the point. And then you saw the ice cube melting. It's the same thing with our body. It takes time for us to heal from the inside out. And that's what we have to realize, is that we're healing from the inside out. And once we kind of understand that, then we can move forward.
Yeah, because wherever you're at, I think in life and in your journey, and we're talking about menopause. For me now, I'm having issues with my weight, and it was just like, I mean, I know quite a bit about weight management, but I was just like, you know, my doctor's going to say something because I've gained weight, so it's like, don't worry about it. It's only 12 pounds. Don't worry. You know, I was like, since the last time you've been here, but I had gained, 12 pounds the time before that. So in 2 years, I've gained like 22 pounds, like 25, whereas I put it 50 because I'm short. So it looks way more compact. I'm like, but I'm used to being pretty steady, because for me, when I found I had food allergies and the celiac disease, and we talked about in the other episode, so go check it out. Inflation too, but inflammation. Yeah. So with inflammation, it didn't take a lot for me at first. Like when I first found out I had food allergies, I stopped eating those foods because I was having allergic reactions that could potentially kill me. But then my body was flushing itself out. But then I had an undiagnosed celiac disease. So I lost like 50 pounds, which was, I'm sure, just water, because I wasn't eating those foods and causing all this issues with my, and inflammation. Then same thing with celiac disease. My body was healing. I finally felt full. And then I had to start working on my weight, just because then it was like, oh, okay, I've lost 150 pounds without really trying. So now I need to like work on it just for my benefit, for me to feel healthier, and for me to feel stronger. And so I've really had to change a mindset. Like I said, it's not about sizes, but for me, I had this mindset of I would keep my clothes, and it was like almost putting myself up for failure. And it was like, well, if I gain weight, and I'm like, no, you're not going to gain weight. You're going to maintain. So for me, because I'm such a cheapskate, not really a cheapskate, but we're frugal. Yeah. So I would go, after my clothes got too big that I couldn't wear them safely, I would go buy clothes, and then I would get rid of those clothes because I had no safety net. And so for me, and it's just a mindset for me of letting go of that. For me, it's a mental and physical reminder that this is how you are now, and this is your reality. So that's how it worked for me. And then, like I said, recently, I've just been going through the past 2 years, the lovely menopause thing. And I'm like, so what am I doing wrong? Well, I'm starting a business, since we're both entrepreneurs, that. And so then it's like stress, not sleeping when you're supposed to be. And so if I don't get the sleeping thing figured out, then it's like, okay, well, you can't really work on anything unless you have it fixed. You got to figure out it. So it's very much all connected.
It's so connected. And that's what we forget about. It's like, you can't just do this part and this part and this part and this part. It's like everything is connected. And once you get all the parts together, it's when the magic happens. But like you said, with sleep, it all really does start with sleep. It really, really does. And so getting that sleep is just the perfect step to get you started on the next step.
One of the things I've been doing, watching the cortisol thing for me, because that's where I am gaining my weight, which I normally don't gain my weight, is I'll start to feel hungry. And I go, you know what? I'll look at the clock and it's usually 8 or 9 o'clock. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stop what I'm doing and I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to go ready for bed. I'm not going to go eat, because that's when I want the munchy thing or whatever, a piece of fruit, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. I want it. Normally it's carbs. So I'll go like, oh, I want fruit. Well, one fruit's a little bit better for you, but it's still sugar. It's still 8 o'clock at night. I need to go to bed. So I've started like noticing those triggers in myself going, oh, I'm tired. So my body's saying, no, go eat something so you can stay up another 2 hours so you can finish editing.
Yeah, exactly. And like we talked before, is like when you're not getting sleep, your body's going to want sugar to keep you going. And then that's, once again, takes you to what's called a sugar burner. And your body's telling you, hey, log off the computer, get rid of the phone, get your butt in bed.
Mm-hmm. It's like you can edit later. You can do, because normally for me it's editing or whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's what I have learned just from our friendship together. And who would have thought you coming to my cooking class for Thanksgiving? Yeah, it was a holiday meal. Would bring about this. I don't know. It's a very fun friendship we have. It is. You got to taste my pumpkin pie. So for everybody, well, you got to taste a lot of my food, stuffing, all kinds of stuff. And you've been gluten-free for a while. So how important do you think it is blending the two things that we have? Because you were like, I'm sharing your recipes, plus you got to actually taste my food. So my food's good. But 2, it's blending the two worlds together. Like you said, you can have the food. So how important, if you happen to be somebody listening to this that is following your track, which is really kind of both of our tracks, which is just having good, nutritious food. How important do you think it is to take one of my classes?
I loved a glue class. And I'm going to tell you, like you said, what's the one thing that you've missed? Mine was stuffing. I haven't had stuffing in a long time. And like pumpkin pie and certain other things, gravy, because a lot of times gravy is made with flour that I can't have. And so it's one of those things that it's important to know that you don't have to be deprived, that you can eat good food, learning from your classes that, hey, and the thing is, what I loved about the recipes in your class was that we had an hour and I can't remember how many things you made that day, but nothing. And it was like a whole Thanksgiving without the bird, but
it didn't have the bird.
It didn't have the bird, but it was like all the side dishes, and it was an hour. It was seriously an hour that you made everything. Everything was extremely simple. And I tried everything. It was all really good. And I actually brought an extra piece of pumpkin pie home for my husband and didn't even tell him that it was gluten-free or anything. And I forget, you didn't do cinnamon, right? Because of Vesper being.
Yeah, cinnamon or ginger. No cinnamon or ginger.
Yeah. So, and it was probably one of the best pumpkin pies I've ever had. You can definitely learn one from your recipes and the cooking class, because you can have good food. It doesn't take a whole entire day to mess up your kitchen and cook all this stuff. There's just so many things that you can learn. And as I always say, people get out of your comfort zone. We're so used to just running through a drive-through, or what can we do? And when you actually, there's studies that show that if you cook at home, one, you do save money and that you are healthier. And you don't have to do a gourmet meal. You can pick one thing and just start with that. And that just one thing usually blossoms into something else, especially when everyone's like, this was good. Okay. I can make this. I can move. I can do something else. And I think that's where your cooking class comes in, because it's user-friendly. That's what I say. It's very user-friendly, and doesn't hurt that the food's good too.
Yeah. Well, that's the most important part. It has to taste good. So, and it was all vegan and all top 9 allergen free. Like I said, we all deserve good food. So thank you for the glowing review. So with that being said, with our food, my classes I do a group hybrid classes with Rainbow Blossom. So just that's a local place here in Louisville. So if you're here local Louisville, you can actually come to the class, or you can do the virtual setup, which a lot of people do. So you can actually do that at home. And then I do offer one-on-one classes too. Food is important to us because it nurtures our body. Fried foods, biscuits and gravy, different things like that. You can still have them. We have fried food. And going back to what you said, like if you're cooking at home, you do make it much healthier. Roundabout way, because of so many food allergies. Vesper, when they were 16, they checked cholesterol. And I'm sure you can explain more about that on why they do that at 16 nowadays. And they came back and they were like, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. And that's not because we don't ever fry food. It's not because we don't ever eat things that we should, what people will say you shouldn't eat. We have macaroni and cheese. We have different things like that, but they're just made at home. And most of it's from scratch. We do very little pre-box cooking. And so my kids, I've seen it firsthand. They didn't go to McDonald's. They couldn't go to McDonald's. They couldn't go to certain places to eat. It made my kids healthier, but I had to do it because I wanted them to live. But we really need to kind of flip that switch and go, you really need to do it if you want them to live a healthier life.
Well, I agree with you. It's like you had to do it because your kids had allergies, but we should be doing it anyway. And yeah, it's scary that a 16-year-old has to get a lipid profile for their cholesterol, for their triglycerides, because we have 16-year-olds on statins. Statins are the medications that we use to decrease cholesterol, which come with a lot of side effects. Most people don't start statins until 50s and 60s because their diet caught up with them. How horrible is it that we have 16-year-olds whose diet's already caught up with them and that they're already having coronary artery disease, that they're already having issues that we're afraid of, that they're not going to make it till 30. That's just horrible.
It is horrible. It's amazing to me that we have a generation kind of out here that in some aspects, I've talked to some people and they're like, my kids only ever ate, at restaurants or fast food, which I understand some people don't learn how to cook, but it's so easy. And I think it's so important for us as parents or as grandparents to get your kids in the kitchen and have them start learning to cook, because guess what? The sooner you get them cooking, they can cook for you. It kind of works out that way.
Exactly. And it's a win-win. It's a total win-win. And it's like, what I said before is I'm a geriatric pharmacist in nursing homes. So you think geriatric should be 80, 90-year-olds. The problem is I'm seeing more 50-year-olds and 45-year-olds who are coming into the nursing home, not just for rehab, for long-term care placement because of strokes, because of diabetes, because of renal failure, because of lifestyle, I won't say decisions, but because of lifestyle. And all of those things could be prevented. And I'll be honest, a nursing home is not a home. It's not something that you want to live your life in. And that's one of my big things, is to keep people out of my homes. I don't want that for anybody.
No, I agree. I've seen it too. It's always scary when, on the aspect of what I do, and I'll be like, that person's a year younger than me. That person's 2 years older than me. That person's the same age as my oldest son, 26 years old. I mean, really, we are seeing them that young. I mean, but even me, when I have a colonoscopy, I have to get one every 3 years. It was every 5, but now it's every 3 years. And I'm late, so I have to be yelled at later, but I'm late. I got to get one done. But I had polyps removed. I had 5 polyps removed. And then they were like, yeah, by the way, you're going to have to come back in 3 years. And some of it probably has to do with my celiac disease and my RA and being undiagnosed for so long. Because when I went on my diet, when we talked about that, my diet is 7th grade, I was being fed like whole wheat and all this other great fiber stuff, which is awesome. And I was losing all this weight, but then that's also when I had my gallbladder taken out. I lost all this weight, and then my body just kind of, and that's probably when it triggered my celiac disease. Is really honestly when I think happened. Since I didn't get diagnosed until I was in my 30s, 33 for celiac disease, and so many things about my life changed for the better after that, my health and everything. It's like, how much better would it have been if I had been diagnosed on a more timely manner, which is not the case we're seeing. So how much of that played into, being a patient as I am? How much is that going to actually hurt my life expectancy for being misdiagnosed and all that. Now, I'm not to blaming the doctors. It is what it is, because we are in such a pharmaceutical, and I get to let you get on your soapbox again, talking about like, prescribing pills sometimes versus attacking what the issue is.
Well, the good thing is, you can also spin it that we're an advocate for your health, and that you decided to get it together, and that you took the information once you finally got the diagnosis and did something with it and didn't ignore it. And you live the lifestyle of a celiac patient. So, and you do everything possible to keep, what we call, we said being glutened, so that that you live amazing, and that you're doing everything possible to keep the inflammation down and keep celiac at bay. What really is upsetting right now is that people are using Ozempic and Wegovy, which is what's called a GLP-1 diabetic drug, that they're using it for a quick weight loss. That it is a drug, it is a injection, and it has its purpose, and it has its purpose for people who are diabetic, for those who have been diagnosed, who do need to maybe lose about 10% of their body weight to help their A1C. The thing is that what people don't understand is that if you have 20, 25 pounds to lose, you don't need to do the injection. If you are on the borderline of being from pre-diabetes to being diabetic, and this is what you will work for you, and it's been prescribed, and you've tried everything else, including what I call count your macros, and that you're doing your weightlifting and you've tried that and that's not working, and you go on this, that's fine. But you have to know that once you go on something like this for a medication for weight loss, you will never go off. If your insurance decides not to pay for it anymore, but just thousands of dollars, the weight will come back. And that's the scary part, is because it doesn't teach you how to eat. It doesn't teach you that you need to still move your body, lift weights. And it breaks my heart when I get messages that says my insurance no longer covers my Ozempic, and I've gained 30 to 40 pounds that I lost. And what can I do? Because I feel like a failure. Hate it when people feel like a failure. I absolutely hate it.
Yeah. So like you said, your body becomes dependent upon it. So it's always good to make sure that medication is your last choice, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I get that people will say, well, you're anti. And it's not that I'm anti, is that sometimes we want the quick fix. And sometimes it's, it's I can just inject myself once a week and the weight just falls off. Well, it falls off because you're nauseated, because you have diarrhea, because things don't taste right. And you lose the weight really quick. And there's something called Ozempic face, is because you lose the weight so quickly that you're also losing the fat out of your face. And so you do look drawn, you look gaunt, you look older. So we can actually do the same thing. It's not sexy. It's not fast. And yeah, it does take work, but to me, it's a better lifestyle. You're going to have to learn this lifestyle anyway. Why not try it first? And then if it's not working and you need some help, okay, then let's go and get the help. But if you are willing to put the work in and really willing to do everything, more than likely it is going to work. It's just not going to be as fast as we all want, but it will get there. You just have to embrace the journey.
Yeah. It's just like with anything, you still have to put the work in. And then if you have to take the medication, so like people that are on statins, yes, the medication helps, but you still need to change your diet.
Absolutely.
So just because you're on the medication doesn't mean it's a fix all.
And you can succeed. Just sometimes, like I said, you need help, you need accountability, you need a plan, because we can't just, the most problem is that people say, well, I'd cut calories, and it just doesn't work, because it does set you up for a binge. It does set you up for failure. And if that's what you've been doing, then no wonder. And you just need a better plan.
And so to get a better plan, so why don't you talk about your program?
So it's a platform I use. It's called the Faster Way to Fat Loss. And I hate saying faster. It's not faster. It's that we do use intermittent fasting, which is kind of scary for some people. But intermittent fasting means it's a period of time that you're not eating. So most people will do 12 hours. And that just gives your body some digestive break. If you think about what happens when you get up in the morning and you have your coffee with your creamer and maybe you grab like a bagel or something, and then you go to work and you grab something else, and then you go and there's lunch, and then maybe you skip something or skip lunch because you had so much other stuff. And then there's people's candy that you get, and then you come home and you have a snack, and then you have dinner, and then you have something else again before you go to bed. And before you know it, it's 10 o'clock and you're getting up at 5, 6 o'clock. Well, the only time that you weren't eating was for about 5 or 6 hours. So just doing that 12 hours gives your body some time to decrease insulin resistance and increase insulin sensitivity. So it is also a program that we use we use macros. So we talk about not calorie counting, but macro tracking, which is counting your proteins, your fats, and your carbs. Then we also work on building muscle, because muscle is your fountain of youth. Muscle is going to keep us as we age from falling and breaking hips. It's going to keep us from tripping. It's going to keep us young, because we still got to pick up our kids, our dogs, our grandkids. We still have to take the groceries out of the truck or out of the car and into the house. Muscle is going to keep you independent. So honestly, it's not glitzy glammy. It's not, like I always say, sexy. It's not oh my gosh, amazing. It's backed by science. It's real food, and it's moving your body. Nothing in extremes, because it's the extreme part that's got us in trouble in the first place.
Slow and steady wins the race.
Absolutely. Slow and steady wins the race.
Okay, then. So before we wrap up, do you have anything at all that you'd like to add?
I could probably add a lot, but no, this has been great. And I absolutely, of course, I absolutely adore you. So this has been lots and lots of fun. Keep watching, because we're going to do some collaborations and stuff. It's going to be great.
And the feeling is mutual, if you can't tell at all. Okay, then guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap up then. Obviously, wherever you're listening, subscribe. That way you'll hear more episodes. Please check out Amy, and I'll have all of their links down below, or wherever else I have it on the podcast. Check out their Instagram, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.